Hi guys, ako po si Joshua Jimenez at ako po yung gumanap bilang si Bintao doon sa Bintao, ang buhay at kabuhayan ni Wenceslao Vinzons na stinage ng Upsilon Sigma Phi at ilang membro ng Dulaang UP noong 2018 sa UP. Okay, question 1. How did you get to know the hero of Camarines Norte, Wenceslao Vinzons, who is also referred as one of the nation's heroes of World War II? So, itong si Vinzons, first time ko marinig ang pangalan niya nung nag-apply ako sa isang student organization sa UP, yung UP Music Circle. Yung tambayan kasi ng org na yun, doon siya sa Vinzons Hall. So, parang, lang siya, hindi ko pa masyado, parang, okay, Vinzons Hall. Hindi ko na masyado inisip kung sino yung tao behind the name. Tapos, parang, I found out later na pala siya, si Vinzons, student leader pala siya. Tsaka siya yung naging editor-in-chief ng Philippine Collegian. Tapos yung Philippine Collegian niya, yung office niya nasa top floor ng Vinzons Hall. Tapos parang nung sumali ako ng Upsilon Sigma Phi nung 2015, doon ko nalaman na Upsilon yan din pala si Wenceslao Vinzons. I didn't know much about him then. Then, later on, nung meron kaming history class sa ilalim ni Dr. Ricardo Jose, who's a World War II historian, one of the country's foremost World War II historians. Dun sa klase niya, parang one of my book reports was on Efren Yambot, also an Upsilonian, on his book, Wenceslao Vinzons, The Hero the Nation Forgot. Tapos, ayun, binasa ko yung libro, tapos dun ko nakita, that's how I really got to know Vinzons, na pala siya, student leader, war hero, tapos lawyer siya, very good politician siya. Tapos, later that year, yung Upsilon, kasi centennial year namin, sinage namin yung play version ng book, also written by Efren Yambot, yung Wenceslao, yung Bintao, ang buhay at kabuhayan ni Wenceslao Vinzons. Nung stinage namin siya, nag-audition ako kasi syempre may theater background na rin ako, tapos I didn't know na parang eventually mag-end up sa akin yung parang yung role ni Bintao. Tapos ayun, getting to know, I really immersed myself in the character. Question 2. What is your personal impression on the intellectual excellence and uncommon bravery of Wenceslao Vinzons? So, the way I see it, si Bintao, essentially para talaga siyang baspas ng Diyos sa Pilipinas nung panahon na yun. Kasi, ito si Bintao, not only did he have, parang he had superior intellect. Not only did he have that, not only did he have the resources, kasi nanggaling din siya sa isang mayaman na pamilya. And more importantly talaga, kahit na he would win awards for writing, he would win awards for speaking, he was a model student and a student leader. More than that, yung love niya yung love and dedication niya sa Pilipinas, unparalleled talaga. So walang katumbas ang pag-ibig niya para sa bayan. Tapos naalala ko nung dinedirect yung Bintao, yung directors ko nun, si Tony Mabesa tsaka si Alex Cortez. Si Tony Mabesa, he just passed away. Siya yung gumanap sa Rainbow Sunset, which came out sa MMFF nung 2018 ata. Tapos, yung direction ni Tony Mabesa sa akin was, and yung direction sa akin ni Tony Mabesa tsaka ni Alex Cortez was, kahit anong ginagawa ni Bintao. So, kahit nagsusulat siya, or kahit umiibig siya kay Liway, yung asawa niya, kapag pina-form niya yung mga guerrillas. So, kahit anong galaw niya, para sa bayan. So, every time he would publish something in the Collegian, every time he would talk to his brods, every time he would parang every time na magpapagathering siya, every time na mag-speech siya, every time he would every time he would, parang play with his children, ang laging nasa isip niya pa rin is everything na ginagawa niya ngayon ay para sa bayan. And until his last breath, talagang para sa bayan. Kasi, di ba nga, binisita siya ni Benigno Aquino Sr. sa kulungan. Imbis na sumali siya sa mga, imbis na mag-collaborate siya at sumali siya dun sa mga, sa mga kasabwat ni Benigno Aquino, nag-no pa rin siya. Kahit alam niyang, di ba, kahit alam niyang his family would be sacrificed, nag-no pa rin siya. Kasi, at the end of the day, number one niya ay ang bayan more than his family, and that is of course diba it's the ultimate sacrifice. Tapos ayun, para sa bayan, and that is parang yun yung impression ko sa uncommon bravery niya. Okay, number 3, Wenceslao Q. Vinzons had everything to lose, and yet he put his life in the line to save the nation from foreign invasion. May pa, parang rap pa. Do you think he can still connect with the generation of the millennials today? Definitely. Sobrang, ito kasi si Bintao, siya dream college student Tapos, for example, di ba, parang, di ba, naging chair siya ng UP Student Council. Nung panahon ko sa UP, parang, yung most of the student leaders na tumatakbo ng Student Council, dream nila maging Student Council President or Chairperson. Tapos, more than that, di ba, nag-editor-in-chief siya sa Collegian. So many UP students would love to be editor-in-chief of the Collegian because it's very hard. You have to go through a very hard exam. Tapos, kailangan, di ba nga, parang kailangan magaling ka na director para dun sa, sa Collegian. Tapos, so, another thing that I like about him is, yung passion pa rin niya Kasi parang, the causes na he was fighting for nung panahon na yun, like for example nung nasa con siya, he was fighting for academic freedom of speech, women's rights, he was fighting for human rights in general. These are still things na parang na, and they will always be fought for. And si Bintao talaga, yun nga, parang I guess that's how he still fights for the same things that the youth of today, me included, fight for. Number 5, what is your message to those who haven't known yet the greatness and profound nationalism of Wenceslao Q. Vinzons? So, alam mo yun, si Vinzons talaga, siya yung perfect, para sa akin, siya yung perfect example of a youth leader of one of us, diba? Tayong mga kabataan, he's the perfect example of what kind of spirit ang kailangan para labanan ang, di ba, para labanan ang pandemya ngayon. And he perfectly summed it up in this line from the play we did. Mga kababayan, magtanim. Itanim din sa puso't diwa ang gintong aral ng kasaysayan. Walang lahing inalipin ang hindi nagkamit ng kalayan, ng hindi nagbubuwis ng buhay at dugo. Kaya muli mga kababayan, magtanim.
So as a student in UP Diliman, Vinzons Hall is one of the more popular buildings on campus. It houses many student organizations and even houses the student council. I first really learned about Bintao and of the things he did in the play Bintao, Ang Buhay at Kabayanihan ni Wenceslao Vinzons. There I learned all the things he did as a Kule editor, a prominent youth leader, and eventually a World War hero who fought on the front lines against the Japanese in their occupation of the Philippines.
Question 2.
I think Vinzons was really someone else. He was an uncommon person, a very special person. But I think what really sets him apart, besides his intelligence and bravery, is his real passion for his values and how he was willing to fight tooth and nail to uphold them. Despite the differences in the situation from Bintao's time and our current situation, the different crises and conflicts that they were facing is drastically different from the ones that we are facing now. But the values that he upheld as a youth leader, fighting for his country, fighting for equality and justice for all people, no matter what's the sector of society they are in, is very applicable to the youth of today. As you can see, there are many youth leaders from also varying sectors of society, and despite being a young politician, he was facing off against the more popular and more established politicians then, like Manuel L. Quezon. And he kept on fighting despite the insurmountable odds. And I think that's something that can inspire the youth today to not give up on fighting for the values that they uphold and the things that they believe in. During World War II, during the Japanese occupation of the Philippines, it was a very, very tumultuous time, I would say. And Vinzons was one of the people who were leading an opposition against the Japanese. At that time, it seemed very hopeless and there was no end in sight. Similar to this pandemic and the crisis that we're facing nowadays. The situation just worsens by the day and it's hard to see how we as a country will push through this. But Vinzons never stopped fighting and he inspired a lot of people to fight for the values that he believed in. And I think the same way, we as a country, us Filipinos, should keep fighting against this crisis and not lose hope.
Question 5.
If you haven't heard about Vinzons and his heroism, I think that would be a good time to learn more about him. Our situation, as compared to his back then, may be slightly different, but it was also a very dark time for our country during World War II. But despite that, Vinzons still kept on fighting for what he believed in, and he kept on fighting for our country. And I think nowadays we should be reminded by the capabilities of the Filipino and what the youth can do. And hopefully we can see more of Vinzons' spirit live on with the current generation.